Can you start playing the best golf of your life without making any changes to your current swing? Spoiler alert, yes you can. In this video, I'm gonna go over 3 common mistakes golfers of all ages and all abilities make prior to hitting their golf shot on the golf course that you can fix right now. You just have to pay attention to these things, and especially the third one. But first, I want to know how many of you value the aesthetics of your golf swing. I recently posted something in the Patreon group, and if you're not a member of the Patreon, it's free. I'll put a link down below. That's where I'm going to announce all of the giveaways that I do on this channel, especially that Callaway driver that I'm giving away. So check out that link, head on over there. But I posted a short video over there discussing aesthetics and how a lot of players chase aesthetics as opposed to chasing impact and improving their ball flight. I recently had a lesson with a plus handicap. He's actually a +3 handicap, so obviously a very good player. And he had battled for years with the look of his golf swing. And I'll be honest with you, the golf swing looked like an octopus falling out of a tree, but that's either here nor there. It's effective. Impact is consistent. Flight is consistent. It have to be in order to be a plus handicap, obviously. But I want to know how many of you out there have struggled with the look of your golf swing and you've chased this perfect look to your golf swing, and maybe it has set you back, and it set you back in terms of time, in terms of your development. We have to know what your impact conditions are, and then we have to build back from that. We have to reverse engineer from that. And sometimes the look of the golf swing doesn't always give you the full picture. Some pretty golf swings produce inconsistent ball flight. Some ugly looking golf swings produce beautiful ball flights and consistent ball flights. So it's not always a 1-to-1 ratio. Obviously, from a physics, biomechanics standpoint, aesthetics typically do match up with efficient positions, but it's not always the case. So my point is, don't chase aesthetics. If your ball striking is pretty good, figure out what your impact conditions are like and then reverse engineer from there. That is one of the reasons why a lot of players really struggle with their game. They're chasing a perfect look, and they're basically devaluing what the ball is actually doing out there. So just a little food for thought today. So let's head to the tee and let's talk about mistake number 1 that I see that has nothing to do with the actual golf swing. So let's go fix that stuff. Come on. For those of you that are new to this channel, I want to welcome you. My name is TJ Valentine. I am a 25-year PGA teaching professional. I've given well over 30,000 lessons in person and remotely over the past quarter century. If you want to learn a little bit more about me, I have a bio down below in the description, but my goal is to help golfers like you play better, have more fun, enjoy the game just a little bit more. So if you do like this kind of content and you do want to get better at this game, consider subscribing, hit that like button, and join this great and growing community. And I appreciate each and every one of you that watches these videos. I truly do. So let's get to the tee. So there's so much emphasis on swinging the golf club better and hitting the ball better, hitting it longer, and all of that stuff to play better golf, which is true. If you can minimize your mistakes, minimize your ball flight misses, you have the potential to play better golf. It's not always the case though, but you have the potential to play better golf. But I'm gonna go over 3 mistakes that I see golfers make all the time that hurts their scores. And these things you can implement right now. Go play golf today, right now, and play better just by paying attention to these 3 things. The first mistake that I see is players not paying attention to the lie. How that ball sits on the ground is going to greatly influence club choice, yardages, how the ball's gonna fly, trajectory, shot shape, all of that stuff. I understand when we practice for the most part off of flat lies. Whether you're stuck practicing off a mat or even if you're practicing off of a grass tee, for the most part, you're gonna get the same lie. And let's be honest here. When you're on a tee, you're always moving that ball to put it in a good lie situation. Now, I will say, when you are working on a mechanic in your golf swing, I want a good lie all the time. In fact, I encourage my students, if you're working on positions, if it's an iron, tee the ball up a little bit. You want to eliminate any lie issues when you are working on the golf swing. But when it comes to playing, we're not working on the golf swing. We are playing golf. We have to pay attention to the lie. And I'm gonna give you a quick little story here. I was down south last fall prepping one of my players for a tournament. And we were out on the golf course, we were doing a practice round, and his ball was sitting in the left rough, and it was a par 5, approximately 250, 245, 250 to the center of the green, and it was sitting down in the rough. And he goes and grabs his 3-wood. Now, I didn't say anything. I always like to use things as, for better or worse, I always like to use those moments as very coachable, teachable moments. I let him hit the shot. It came off very low, did not get out of the rough, and it traveled roughly 40, 50 yards in front of him. And he immediately said, oh man, that was a bad swing. What did I do? And I said, it had nothing to do with your golf swing. I said, you have no business trying to hit a 3-wood out of a lie where the ball is sitting down. This is an elite junior player, and he didn't even realize that. So these are the decisions we have to make prior to choosing the club, prior to executing the golf shot. You have to understand what that lie is going to do. And I completely understand practice ranges, practice facilities don't always necessarily have the setup to practice these different lies, to allow you to learn what the ball does and doesn't do out of certain lies. Generally speaking, the thicker the rough, the more loft you want to get the golf ball out. And obviously, it is a case-by-case basis, because if you have thick rough, the ball may be sitting up a little bit, your decision may change because of that. But in general, you have to pay attention to the lie. You have to assess the lie before you hit a shot, even in the middle of the fairway. If the ball is sitting down, you're probably going to hit the ball lower on the face. You have to understand what the ball is going to do in that situation. If you're not paying attention and you make a swing and you hit it low on the face, you may immediately think you just hit a thin shot because of a bad swing. In reality, it's a bad decision because you didn't take a look at the lie. Do not underestimate the power of paying attention to the lie before you hit a golf shot. And I promise you, you will execute a few better shots around just by understanding what that lie is and how it's going to affect the ball and how the ball flies out of it. So the second mistake I see all the time before golfers even swing the golf club that essentially don't give them the best chance that they have to hitting the best shot in the moment is the fact that they do not have clear intentions in terms of what they want to do in the moment. Typically, players will simply look at point A to point B. In our case here, it's 142 to that pin. They may take the laser out, laser that pin, which, spoiler alert, little controversial. I do not like my players to use rangefinders at all. I got a video coming up talking about that. Make sure you subscribe if you want to know a little more. You may not agree with me, but I'm going to present my case. But they may grab that rangefinder, boom, hit it, it's 142. They just get up, they don't consider the lie, they don't consider the wind, they don't consider all these other factors. They don't have clear intentions. They don't have a picture of the golf shot they want to hit. They just have a number, and that is it. Jack Nicklaus once said, before he hit every golf shot, he saw the shot happen beforehand, like a movie. I want you to stand behind that golf ball, see the golf shot you want to execute, see the ball flight you want to execute. Paint the positive picture before you ever swing that golf club. And I'm not saying you're going to execute that golf shot to a tee. Odds are you're probably not. But I promise you, a lot of the bigger mistakes you make probably will start to get smaller because you have a clear visual intentions of what you want to do. You understand how the lie is going to affect the ball flight. You've chosen the proper club based on those factors. Also, you're getting the yardage to the middle, slightly middle back of the green. You are not getting the yardage to the pin. The pin is why a lot of golfers miss greens. I'm not going to get into that yet. Stay tuned for that video coming up. So I'm going to stand behind the golf ball. I understand the lie is relatively flat here. I'm looking at a yardage that's roughly 145 middle of the green, which is going to give me a little room to miss short if I do hit it a little bit thin or I don't hit it as solid as I want. I'm visualizing the ball flight. I'm going through my process. And I'm executing the golf shot. 145 in the air, pretty much what I told myself. I painted the picture, I had clear intentions, and I executed it. I'm not gonna execute it every time. You're not gonna execute it every time, but you're gonna give yourself the greatest chance to hit the best shot you possibly can in that moment by having those clear intentions. So let's talk about the third thing. And again, this may be the most important for some of you, because I know a lot of you just don't pay enough attention to this, and it's because of the way we practice, to be honest with you. Now, the final mistake that I see all the time with players on the golf course that absolutely influences the outcome of the golf shot, this is gonna sound very, very, very obvious, but a lot of players just don't pay enough attention to this, and that's simply your alignment. Alignment, obviously, has to be good. Now, here's my little asterisk to alignment. Everybody's alignment may be a little bit different. So what I mean by that, a high percentage of golfers are what we call parallel left to their target. And I'm going to throw a number out there. Maybe 60% of golfers are good when they are parallel to the ball flight line, to the target line. But there are players, and let me know if this is one of you, that are better off when your body is slightly closed to the target line or slightly open to the target line. And there's many factors involved in this. Ball flight. You know, if you're a big drawer of the golf ball, you may be best to be slightly closed to get this ball to start slightly right of the target or vice versa. Now, there's many combinations of this, but not everybody is parallel to the target line. It would be amazing if we all hit the golf ball dead straight, but we don't. But I would say a greater majority than the mixed bag of other alignments are relatively square. It's just one of my, I'd say, pet peeves in golf instruction that everybody is taught to be square, square, when in reality, it's all about the player and what alignment matches the player's ball flight and matches the outcome of that particular ball flight. So that's my little talk on that. I'll get off my soapbox here. So I just see a lot of players that don't pay attention to their alignment. And yes, that's part of intentions. That's part of the process before you hit a golf shot. But I see so many players just walk up to the ball and then pray that they're in the right spot. I mean, how many times have you hit a golf shot and your playing partners have said, you were aimed way to the right, or you were aimed way to the left on that shot, which is different than what you normally do, and the outcome matches what they said. We've all experienced that. And most of the time, it's because we weren't paying attention to the alignment process. You need to have an alignment process. And I will also say, this starts with the practice range. When you're on the practice range, a lot of times, say you're practicing off of a mat. A mat is square. You don't really think about alignment. Our brains are very symmetrical. We kind of line up to where the mat is pointed and we go. Or we take sticks, alignment sticks or clubs, and put them down and practice. That is all good and great, but you're not training yourself to get into the shot. You're not training yourself the process of alignment. You're just making sure you're lined up so when you work on something, you know where you are relative to something out there in the distance, which is important, which is massively important when you're practicing. But you can't throw sticks down on the ground when you're playing. You need to have a process. And this video is not about going over that process. I will be doing some videos coming up on the alignment process. This is just a reminder. You need to pay attention to your alignment. It needs to be part of your conscious process walking into the golf shot. Just like it's part of your conscious process to look at the lie, to have clear intentions. And if you just pay attention to these three things, I bet you're gonna hit some better shots out there, which most likely will lead to some pretty good scores. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.